Okay, so yesterday I left Banja Luka and I got a ticket on a bus to go to Beograd. I was going to go to Serbia from Bosnia. Been in Bosnia for 2 months and I really wanted to see Beograd and Novi Sad in Serbia. So I got my ticket and I had asked because you've got to cross the border into another country. So I had asked a number of people about this, a number of people who have crossed the border, and I was specifically wondering if I could get across the border without a COVID test. And everyone was like, you don't need to worry about it. If you're crossing the border from Bosnia, you don't need to worry about a COVID test. If you're crossing on the ground, like on a train or a bus or whatever, um, but I wanted to be sure, so I did look it up on the embassy website, and it said the same thing. If you are a citizen of Bosnia or Croatia, or I think there were a couple other countries too, Crna Gora, uh, that you did not need a COVID test, and Americans were on this list. Like it was all former Yugoslavian countries and then America. They were on that list. And you didn't need a COVID test. Okay. All right. So I got my ticket. Things started to go a little weird right away because the woman at the bus station would not print my ticket. And she gave me a receipt, but she didn't print the ticket. And it says right on the ticket that I ordered online that it needs to be printed. And I asked her twice about it and I told her that I needed it printed. And she was just like, no, this is all you need. So I get on the bus. Luckily, the bus was already moving when the bus driver's assistant, they always roll in twos. So there's one person driving, and then there's the other person who's like sitting next to them talking about shit, I guess. Anyway, that guy comes back, and we were already a few miles out of Banja Luka by the time he looked at my not ticket. I mean, I showed it to him on my phone, but he was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I showed him the receipt and I told him what happened in the best I could because, my Serbian isn't the best. But anyway, he wrote me out a ticket and he wasn't happy about it, but he did it. So he ended up writing a handwritten ticket. Anyway, so we get through that and we drive and we drive. And I'm on the bus for like fucking 5 hours or something. And then eventually we get to the border. So we get to the Bosnian. So first you cross the Bosnian border guard as you go out of Bosnia. So everyone has to get out of the bus and we all go in a line and we all fucking talk to the Bosnian border guard as we leave Bosnia. So he asks me if I have a proof of residency in Bosnia. And I'm like, I'm leaving Bosnia. And he was asking for, a proof of where I was staying. I'm like, dude, I've been here for 2 months and I've stayed in all these different cities. And I don't have a proof of residency now because I'm fucking leaving and going to Serbia. His exact words were, I will have to punish you now because you don't have this card. And he was talking about a proof of residency card. And I was like, what the fuck what can I do? I didn't pull any attitude with him. I mean, as I'm saying it now, attitude is coming out, but that is not what happened when I was talking to him. Anyway, so I'm like, what can I do? And he's like, next time you pass this gate, you must have this card, right? I'm like, okay, okay. So he lets me through to leave Bosnia. Now, in between the Bosnian border and the Serbian border is the Drina River, and there's probably about 2 miles, I would say, 2 miles of like space. maybe 3 miles, including the Drina River. And there's this bridge. So we go on the bus and we get to the next part, which is the Serbian border patrol. And I was already like, oh, fuck. Because I had my Airbnb messages back and forth on my phone, but I'm like, this dude is not going to let me in because I don't have a proof of residency. Well, that wasn't the problem. So I get to the Serbian border guard, and he asked me for a COVID test. I'm like, everything that I read said that I did not need one. And he was like, you don't need one if you are only passing through Serbia to go to another place. So he was like, and he asked me how long I was going to be there. I'm like, well, I plan to be here for like 2 weeks. And he's like, that is not just passing through. You need a COVID test. You cannot come in. Okay. So I had to take my suitcase off the bus and just get stranded on the Serbian border side of the bridge. Now, there were a couple kickers here. Number one, I left my umbrella on the fucking bus. I forgot about it. So I had no umbrella, which was fine. It wasn't raining at the time. But also, my cell phone reception was gone. BIH Telecom, which is the company that I'm using for my phone here, their service runs out when you get probably 3 or 4 miles from any border. I found this out in Naum too. My phone didn't work whatsoever in Naum. I only could use my phone when I was connected to Wi-Fi. Well, so I'm standing there, and there's miles before I even get back to the Bosnian border, which I'm pretty fucking sure they're not gonna let me back through because the dude straight up told me if I don't have a proof of residency, he's going to punish me. Oh my god. So I'm standing there and I find a Wi-Fi network. It's called Air Conditioner. No internet access. So I connect to Air Conditioner. It doesn't fucking do shit for me. My phone doesn't work. There are people I could call, but my phone did not work. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck am I going to do? I was literally trapped between two countries in a several mile stretch, standing there like a dipshit with my fucking suitcase, just standing there outside. And I know that there's a bridge like a mile and a half away from where I'm standing that maybe I could like sleep under, because what the fuck am I going to do? So the Serbian border guard, he tells me maybe you can hitchhike back to the Bosnian side, right? And he said, or, there's a bus that shows up almost every minute. There's always a bus coming. Maybe you could talk to one of those guys. So a bus comes up. It was a bus that was coming from Novi Sad going to Bijeljina. I don't know if I said that right. But anyway, that's a border town. It's about fucking 10 miles or something from the border. It's really close to the Drina River, the border between Bosnia and Serbia. So that bus was going there. And I see the bus driver, he gets out so he can do the check-in with the guards, and then all of the people on the bus get out and they individually have to show the border guard their fucking credentials and all of this. So I ask him, Dali ti govoriš engleski, right? I asked him if he spoke English. He did not, but he understood what was happening to me completely when I asked him that question. And this man was an angel. And he asked the people on his bus if anyone spoke English. There was one student who did, and he goes, "You come here," And I mean, he said that in Serbian, but then this kid translated between me and the bus driver, and then they shouted stuff, toward the border guard, and the bus driver was like, get on the bus, and he took my suitcase, put it in with the luggage, took me back to the Bosnian side. Now, by some act of God because I was pretty sure I was fucked. Once I got to the Bosnian side, they were at best going to make me live under the fucking bridge in between the two countries, right? Because neither country would let me in. Um, and at worst, they were going to fucking throw me in prison, you know? So I get there, and you can tell that this driver, he's friends with this. Because I was coming back the other way, it was a different border guard. It wasn't the guy that straight up said that he was going to punish me, it was some other dude. And the bus driver, you could tell he knew this guy. So they talk for a little bit, and I see some excited reactions out of the bus driver. I'm like, okay, this is either really good or really bad. And and I walk up, I tell the border guard all the shit that's happening. I'm like, look, I was here 15 minutes ago, and I mean, I was just trying to go to Beograd, and they wouldn't let me through, and blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, okay, and he said that I could get a COVID test in Bielina, and he said it is no problem. So he let me through, and the bus driver, he's like, get back on the bus. So he took me to the town Bielina, and that is where I am now. I've spent the last couple days here rethinking my life and getting drunk because also here I have found an amazing rakia, kaisia. It's made with apricots, and it's like fucking heaven. It's amazing. But I was so stressed out when I got here, and I just walked up to the first hotel, and I'm like, I need a room, and they're like, oh, you don't have a reservation. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked anyway. I'm still gonna have to be sleeping under that bridge. But no, it was fine. So I got this hotel room for a couple days. I am about to go back to Sarajevo and to Visoko, where I have a bunch of friends back there. I'm going to hang out with them with any remaining time that I have in Bosnia. And I am just super, super thankful that I didn't end up caught in between the countries. And here's the thing, because I would have been stuck in a spot where the border patrols were. I would have had no choice. Eventually, I would have had to go to one of the two sides. And I was on the Serbian side when I got stranded. I did not have a stamp to be in Serbia, right? They didn't give me one. I had a stamp to get out of Bosnia. But if I would have tried to get back to the Bosnian side, I would have had to swim across the Drina River. And this is about like swimming across the Mississippi in Minnesota, in southern Minnesota. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to take anything with me. My fucking phone would have been trashed and all this. Or I would have ended up walking through the woods and being a straight up fucking outlaw vagrant in Serbia. And because I was right next to the goddamn border guards, they would have caught me. It wouldn't have been difficult. And my suitcase is this fucking ridiculous blazed orange thing. I couldn't hide. So I managed to avoid being a troll under a bridge in technically Serbia on that side of the Drina, but I would have been straight up fucked. And this angel of a bus driver straight up saved me. He just saved my life. And I don't have his name or anything. I wish I would have got his name and like phone number. Like I could send this guy presents for the rest of my life because he straight up saved me. But yeah, so that was my experience yesterday. And since then, I'm just plotting my way back to Sarajevo and Visoko, where I can be there without any threat of being thrown in prison or living under a bridge.